We have seen many issues between the state government and their governors, and we have discussed in our past videos regarding such issues. So in this video, we will be discussing an important doctrine associated with the governors, and that is known as the Doctrine of Pleasure. Hi, it's me Fatima Nasrin and welcome to Ekam IAS. So why this doctrine of pleasure is important? Because there was a news regarding the Kerala governor has said that the ministers who try to lower the dignity of the governor's office can invite the action including the withdrawal of pleasure. So this news makes us important to know what is this doctrine of pleasure. So now let's see what is this doctrine of pleasure. The concept of doctrine of pleasure was originated from English common law. We know that we had civil servants appointed by the crown, and these civil servants worked under the pleasure of the crown. So when the crown is not pleased with these civil servants, they will be removed without any reason. So that is what is this pleasure. If the crown withdraw his or her pleasure, then that officer, that civil servant has to leave from the office. So that is the pleasure, doctrine of pleasure. And we took this pleasure from the English common law. But we have a different sort of procedure or methods in our Indian constitution. The Indian constitution also contains some provisions related to the doctrine of pleasure. And one is the Article 310. It states that every person in defense or civil service of union shall hold their office during the pleasure of president, and in case of state, they hold the office during the pleasure of the governor. However, Article 311 poses restriction for their removal. That means they will be provided with reasonable opportunity for being heard. So once their part is heard, then only their removal proceedings will be started. So even if they are residing with the pleasure of president or governor, they will be given the opportunity of being heard. Okay. Another article which talk about the doctrine of pleasure is the Article 164, and it states that the chief minister shall be appointed by the governor and the other ministers shall be appointed by the governor on the aid of or the advice of the chief minister. Based on the advice of the chief minister, the governor will appoint other ministers. And along with that, the ministers hold their office during the pleasure of governor. So this is another important article which talks about the doctrine of pleasure. That is Article 164 regarding the appointment of chief minister and other ministers. And they hold the office during the pleasure of the governor. But the pleasure doctrine exists only in constitutional sense. That means the governor has to work only based on the aid and advice given by the Council of Ministers headed by the Chief Minister. Or in other words, we can say the pleasure of governor, which means, or it is an indirect term or word that is used for the Chief Minister's power to dismiss an individual minister. So basically, even though the constitution uses the word the pleasure of governor, it actually the power resides with the chief minister. And the governor has to act according to the aid and advice given by the Council of Ministers headed by the chief minister. Now let's see what are the exceptions to the doctrine of pleasure. The doctrine of pleasure is subjected to the constitutional limitation, which means that if constitution has provided some specific provisions regarding the tenure of a civil servant, then they are excluded from the operation of doctrine of pleasure. Now let's see what are the constitutional office that are excluded from the doctrine of pleasure. They are the Supreme Court judges under Article 124, then the CAG, that is the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, then High Court judges and Election Commission of India. So these are the offices that are excluded from the doctrine of pleasure because their tenures are all defined or mentioned in the constitution. They have specific provisions regarding their appointments and removal. Hence, they does not fall under the principle or the doctrine of pleasure. Now the doctrine of pleasure is also subjected to the fundamental rights, and we know that one of the aim of the fundamental right is to check whether the state is being authoritarian. So the pleasure doctrine is also subject to the fundamental rights. So that is regarding the doctrine of pleasure. Now let's see a model question. Try to find the answer and write the answer in the comment section below. The answer, the explanation and the detailed material will be provided in our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel will be provided in the description below. And finally, if you find this video helpful, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.